right, so then moving on to the next module, I'm going to bring in Eddie here. He's going to talk about credit cards.
All right, so my name is Eduardo, like I mentioned earlier, and I'll be presenting about the credit card segment. So credit cards is something that we're all hear about. We probably get advertisement on it via email, while you're on YouTube, online, etc., etc. But credit cards are a double-edged sword. This is the two experiences you could have using credit cards. On the left, you have somebody taking advantage of credit card reward points that he could use to go on free flights, get all these perks, go on lounges. And on the right, you see somebody stressed out and overwhelmed because they have so much debt and their credit score is being drastically lowered because of their misappropriate use of credit cards. So credit cards has its pros, protects against fraudulent charges. This is a way in case somebody takes your credit card information without your knowledge and buys an electronic equipment like a TV or buys some other product that you didn't authorize. This adds an extra layer of protection so that you're not liable for those charges. So you're not responsible to pay it. You just bring it up to your credit card company and say, hey, I didn't use it for this. This is fraud. And they basically take care of the rest. So that's a huge convenience. Next, we have rewards. Like I mentioned before, you can get free rewards in the points for airlines, cashback, or any other perks depending on the credit card you select. And thirdly, adding on to what George says, it helps build credit. This helps you in the future because as you build your credit, then that means you can get more perk-driven credit cards. You can have a lower interest rate when you apply for loans, et cetera, et cetera. However, credit cards does have its cons as well. Like I mentioned, it's a double-edged sword. Some of this, it's easier to overspend. You don't see the actual physical money leaving your hand. Therefore, if you're not paying attention to it, you could easily rack up thousands of dollars in debt and have no way of paying it back on time. There's high interest. So on top of owing money, you have to pay interest on that money. So 10% plus, $10 or $100, slap in whatever interest rate. Now it's $100 plus whatever interest. So you pay more for whatever products you bought on the credit card. Like I said before, it builds credit, but it could also destroy your credit if you miss payments, like George has mentioned before in the previous slides. Before you even think about getting a credit card, you should ask yourself, do I tend to overspend my money? If the answer is yes, then I recommend you hold off on credit cards. It could be easy to go further down the rabbit hole of debt since, like I mentioned, you don't see money physically leaving your hands, and it could be a trap for your financial health. However, if you ask that question again and you respond with no, you tend to have self-control over how much money you spend on your credit card or your budgeting in general, your money, then I recommend you proceed and see what credit cards there's available based on your credit score. So when it comes to credit cards, there's a ton of credit cards you can choose from. The only question you should really ask is, what do I want to add? Or that would be the next question you would ask yourself. So before that, some factors in the decision process is rewards. Do you want cash back? Do you want travel? Do you want hotel? Do you want lounge access? The list goes on. You should also know your FICO score. This will help you determine which credit cards you would actually be able to apply to and have a high chance of acceptance. And something also to factor in is some of these more luxurious credit cards have annual fees. And that's something you have to keep in mind. Do I want to pay an annual fee for my credit card or not? And then lastly, there's interest rate. I highlight this in red because I strongly recommend paying your balance in full every month. So interest rate in this sense won't really affect you because if you're paying your balance full in every month, you're not paying any interest. Therefore, you're getting the perks without any of the interest or fees that come with it, unless you sign up for an annual fee credit card. So how do you go about choosing the right one after you have those decision or factors decided out? Google's your best friend. You can just best credit cards for, and then call it recent grad, travel, cashback, the list goes on, whatever is important to you. Same thing, but on YouTube, best credit cards for, there's tons of YouTube channels, mainly focused on credit cards and getting the most out of them. And then there's websites such as nerdwallet.com. They do a detailed comparison of different credit cards, the pros, the cons, things to look out for, the rewards, et cetera, et cetera. And same thing for bankrate.com. So here's an example from nerdwallet.com. It's a Discover It student Chrome card. It has a 5-star rating on the NerdWallet website. It has a $0 annual fee. It has an annual percentage rate of 12.99 to 21.99%. Again, if you're paying your balance in full every month, then this should not be too concerning for you. And you can see the recommended credit score in the far right, which is 630 to 689, which is considered average. And on the bottom, you see things like why we like it, pros and cons, and product details. Next, we have the Citi Double Cash card. This is a cashback reward card. Once again, no annual fee. You get cashback 1 to 2%. On this one, however, you see that you have to have excellent credit score, which is 720 to 850. This would be a good credit card if you're looking for cashback, but once again, do further research to see the one that fits for you. And then lastly, we have a more luxurious credit card or high-end credit card, whatever terminology you'd want to use. This one comes with a $95 annual fee because it has more perks than the previous two. You get reward rate of 1 to 5x your points. And they also have introductory offers. So some credit cards would be like spend $2,000 within the first 3 months and we'll give you X amount of points for free as a bonus. So that's something to consider. If you're considering that, I would recommend getting those credit cards if you're already anticipating to buy a big purchase order. I personally have this card, but I didn't get it until I was already going to buy a road bicycle. And it's a big charge. So kind of like got double points because I bought my bike, which I was already going to buy ahead of time. And I used this card and I got bonus points from it. For this one, there is recommended credit score of good to excellent. So that's something to keep in mind. So like I mentioned before, you should pay your credit cards in full every month. By doing this, you're more aware of your spending so that you know when you're starting to rack up more debt on your card and you should slam on the brakes to prevent yourself from going into debt. Opposite to what George said, I don't apply to multiple credit cards so quickly. You should get familiar with using one credit card first. And if you can have good self-control and stay on top of it, then you can start opening up more credit cards if you would like. But that's a personal preference to whatever you decide.
Yeah, no, I guess really quickly, I want to chime in that Eddie's absolutely right. If you're brand new and don't really have financial discipline, then I 100% agree. Don't open more credit cards at once because then you just are going to go out on a spending spree. So absolutely agree.
Yeah, so build financial habits first, create a routine, check your balance. Luckily, a lot of these credit cards have apps on your phone. So it's literally just pull up the app and then see what the balance is to see what's your status and check your checking account, et cetera, et cetera. And like I keep pointing out snippets, I just want to make sure that this has its own dedicated slide because this is a key takeaway with credit cards. It's to pay your balance in full every month. If you do this, you don't have to worry about interest. You don't have to worry about fees. Your credit score goes up and you get all the perks, like I mentioned, with no downside. If you take one key takeaway from credit cards, whatever credit card you choose, it's this: pay your balance in full every month. So that's just a snippet introductory of credit cards. So now you have a better understanding of what goes into one. And if you utilize it correctly or incorrectly, you'll have the fate of either one of these two options, which is massive amount of headaches, debt, your credit score is going down, 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 or you can live a life where you're making the most out of it and you're improving your credit score, and the list of perks goes on and on.